Hey everyone, Thornton here, and today we're going to be talking about how AAA games have been flopping very hard recently. The most notable one is Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, which Warner Brothers said was a complete failure. And it's kind of confusing because they actually have a lot of evidence that says this was not the game to make. And we're going to go over why they're failing, why Helldivers 2 and palworld in the finals are doing so well, and what it means for the future of video games in general as it seems to be moving in a brand new direction. So I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm a pretty big critic of major publishers that tend to go for microtransactions, and so 2024 has made me insanely happy because in the realm of video games, the concept of live service has become way too dominant, at least of recent, and it's mainly due to stockholders. And this is supposed to be what could have been a great idea where you promise ongoing engagement and revenue streams for the developers and the publishers alike. However, it turned into a much greedier ecosystem. There's recent events surrounding Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, and it has shed light on the inherent risks and challenges associated with the model, but how we as consumers also get blatantly ripped off. And Warner Brothers Discovery has also admitted that the game has fallen short of our expectations, which lets us know they had no idea what they were doing despite having their own evidence to the contrary. Now, what's important to know is that Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League just failed to resonate on any level with players. It has resulted in dwindling player numbers and horrible reviews. And I want to point out, this is made by the same developer who gave us the amazing single-player Arkham Asylum games from Batman, which were absolutely fantastic, non-live service model, and had great gameplay elements and storytelling elements. And this kind of shows that either the studio has gone downhill or the publisher wanted to inject this kind of game, which highlights the disconnect between the developer aspirations and the player's expectations. And look, I get it, they wanted to inject excitement by bringing in the Joker and hints at Return of Batman, but it really failed in every single way because it wanted to go with live service and so didn't provide us with any meaningful content, which people have become accustomed to from Rocksteady's better games. It's actually crazy to me because even if we look away from the developer and the publisher Warner Brothers wanting to push this live service game, they just did Hogwarts Legacy, an amazing single player RPG. Look, it's not the perfect game, but I'm gonna give credit where credit is due. It is a single player game with no microtransactions, basically. I mean, there are some, but you don't have to invest in it at all. You can just enjoy the game as is. And it was one of the year's best sellers. I personally enjoyed the hell out of that game. So you have the Batman series by Rocksteady, and then you have the Harry Potter's Legacy series, and then you can look at other games like Marvel's Avengers, which absolutely flopped. And for some reason, Warner Brothers Discovery was like, yeah, let's emulate that model that failed horribly, but let's do it with our cast of characters, which haven't been as relevant as Marvel's in the mainstream media. I'm sure that will go over with great success, and we'll even add less content than Marvel's Avengers. I don't know who the hell is working at Warner Brothers Discovery that thought this was a good idea. Now, in contrast to this, there are smaller studios that are doing more intense focus that have found success in the live service genre. This would be a good example of Helldivers 2, where the game is prioritizing gameplay quality and player satisfaction over extravagant production values, throwing in Joker or Batman, not that they could anyways, but they actually seem to care about what we as players want. And it resonates with us, and it fosters dedicated communities. So many people love Helldivers 2 because the gameplay and content is what the developers themselves wanted to play, instead of just pushing a game out to make as much money in the short term as possible. Right now, Helldivers is boasting impressive concurrent user numbers on platforms like Steam, and it's letting smaller studios know that they can compete with the larger studios, and the larger studios are going to have to take a back seat and really reevaluate on how they do things. For example, another title of this would be Skull and Bones, which is another live service project which absolutely failed. I'd like to point out though also that Suicide Squad and Skull and Bones both sold for $70 and were bare bones games, and these smaller studio ones are coming out at half the price with way more content. Of course it's gonna fail. And it's crazy because Skull and Bones had years of development and it had a huge financial investment from Ubisoft, but it just didn't attract players, and it faced criticism for its pricing model and once again, lack of content. If you compare Helldivers 2 and Skull and Bones, you can see a clear difference between how much the developer actually wanted to put into the game. And I have one more example, and this is probably actually going to be the biggest financial one here, and that's palworld in matching the popularity of Pokemon Scarlet. Because within a month, it has gotten up to 19 million sales, while Pokemon Scarlet in an entire year sits at around 23 million. There is not a way that I can explain this more than that is absolutely massive for an indie studio to outsell sell what Pokemon does in a year in just about a month. And it's because they decided to be innovative, add new gameplay mechanics, rather than relying solely on brand recognition optimization, and this is how smaller studios can carve out a niche in the competitive gaming market, and why unless AAA studios, developers, and publishers get their act together and start realizing that the consumer is what is the most important here, they are going to absolutely continue having to lay off employees, which has been a huge issue in the video game sector for the last 2 years, and that they simply can't just do this live service model and hope to reach the success of other titles. Let me know your guys' thoughts down below. What do you think about live service games, especially made by AAA studios, and why do you think other games have been so popular recently? Also, if you're looking for more news on other video games coming out, you can check out my other videos right here. I cover a variety of topics, and the support I appreciate a ton. Also, thank you for stopping by, and I'll see you in the next video, hopefully.